live.
All right. How's it going today, everyone? I'm assuming we're live. It doesn't show up on my side over here, so I don't know. Oh, but there it is.
It
Okay.
shows up on mine.
All right. So we're good. We're live. We got it all worked out this time, everyone. So we
Whew.
were able to figure out our technical difficulties, and we're here. We're ready to bring you the show we wanted to bring you yesterday. Pretty excited about it. We're just going to have another news source for everyone. Or we talk about it on our podcast, on the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. We're not pundits. That's more of a coaching technicality, mentality area. And Bernice, you as well, you bring news to with hybrid sport media. So this is going to be the place where we get to do opinions and talks and just have fun entertainment sports show around the hybrid community, which is right now dominated by Hyrox.
Definitely. And Anthony and I are really just starting out in the live show space. So if you have any ideas for different segments, what you want to hear, who you want to hear from, please let us know. But Anthony, actually, first, do you want to? I mean, you already kind of have, but I think most people would know who you are. But who are you, Anthony Pericini?
So most commonly, I'm referred to as Lauren Weeks' husband. Uh, so if you don't know me, I am Lauren Weeks is my wife. I am Lily's father as a secondary thing, right? Lauren's husband, Lily's father, and then I'm a coach for the Hybrid Engine. So Hybrid Engine is our training platform and programming. We do coaching. I guess in there you could throw in JK's coach. So uh, have that. But yeah, we coach a lot of the E15 athletes in Hyrox, and as well as several other of the hybrid fitness racing sports. And by trade, or by education and practice, I'm a professional engineer. But by trade and practice as well as I've been coaching. So I've been coaching people in endurance sports and in CrossFit for 15 years now, or more. So it's been a long road, and we're getting refined. But that's kind of who I am. Bernice, you are no longer BK, I believe, right?
I'm not. I'm
So,
not.
but that gives a little hint into who you are. So,
Yes, I'm commonly known as James Kelly's sister, but I'd like to say that he's actually my brother because growing up, oh, I'm lying here, but I'd love to say I was the better athlete, but I definitely wasn't. I think I won one cross country championship in my lifetime growing up. So there you go, James. I'll beat you on that one. But
he's
yeah, and
he's
I
your
run
little
the.
brother.
He is my little brother, so
You
I do
paved
have
the way
that
for him.
up on him. So I run the hybrid sport media platform. For anyone who doesn't know, we predominantly focus on the results in the APAC region. Jim and I, and FYI, when I say Jim, I can't get around the JK. So when I refer to Jim, I'm referring to JK for all the listeners out there. But yeah, we started the platform Hybrid Sport Media really to focus on the APAC region because it wasn't really being done down there, Anthony. I mean, Australia in general, as well as New Zealand, and even just the APAC region as a whole, we're a little bit behind you guys over there in America. So I'm excited for this show because I think we can bring a bit more of that global aspect to hybrid fitness racing with, your views as a coach, mine more on, I guess, the media side of things. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. I think it's fantastic that we can do this kind of worldwide as well. It's early in the morning over there in Australia. It's about mid-afternoon here, and it's pretty late in Europe. We plan on having this show at this time, 3 o'clock on Wednesdays. But if we get a large European crowd that says do it an hour earlier or something, or we'll listen to what the community says. But right now, this is the time we're going with on Wednesdays, not Thursdays. We had a technical difficulties yesterday. Um, but I'm very happy to be able to connect with you, Bernice, and get this on a weekly thing and be able to just talk Hyrox. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I'm excited that we're going to be able to do it. So to start this episode, it's the very first one. I just want to go over a few things that we have seen and what we'll be doing on this live show and this channel. We will put this up as a podcast after the live show, usually the following day. So that means when we do it on Wednesday, it'll go up like Thursday, or Bernice, you're in Australia, so all the
Friday.
Aussies out there, it'll be up Friday for you. Um, we'll be following and commenting primarily on the elite side of the sport. So we'll be following the sport elite athletes. But if there's other storylines that come up and newcomers, hot fresh faces, all that kind of stuff, we'll throw those in there as well. And it won't just be Hyrox, but right now, especially this time of year, it's going to be dominated by Hyrox. But at least today, we're going to be talking about Hyrox and DecaFit. Lots of Hyrox, some DecaFit in our recap here. This is the pundit and commentary show. So that's what we're going to be. We'll have guests on here. We plan on having different types of guests and doing actual segments. So segments that people like from other sports shows. So if you've ever watched like Good Morning Football and there's like the Angry Runs segment, maybe we have something like that with something else. Or there's a lot of different directions we are heading with this that we've already have written down. But if you as the viewer have something you want to see or have any good ideas, let us know and we'll implement those as well.
Definitely. And we should mention, Anthony, that, I know Hyrox is going to be a big focus, and that's purely because it is the biggest player in the game within hybrid fitness racing. But as you mentioned, I mean, we've got Deca, we've got Deadly Dozen that seems to be growing worldwide, and it's about to hit here in Australia. There's so many other fitness racing events that we'll also be focusing on. So there's going to be a lot to talk about, but we'd love to, as I said at the beginning, hear any feedback, anything that you guys are really wanting to see or hear from. What you're wanting to watch, please do let us know, because that's what we want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that's kind of the background and the start of the show. Let's get into what we're going to do because, guys, first off, we do want to grow this show as much as we can for entertainment and just news source things. We're already talking about how we're going to create an intro, have some theme music, sounds, buzzers, all that kind of stuff. So excited to grow this, and so as long as you guys share it and you're happy with it, we'll keep on doing it as well, and we'll probably keep on doing it anyway just because we enjoy the chat.
Definitely.
So to start with, I just want to start with this thing because I hadn't heard any mention about it. First off, good for APAC as well. Huge congratulations that Hyrox announced Matt Locke, the director of the APAC region, is now the technical director of the Elite 15. So Matt Locke is stepping into a role to make sure that the rule book, like all the technicalities and the setup of the systems and everything is going out. And I can't think of Mintra was covering that. She does fantastic. She's still director of sport. So Matt Locke's going to be working right there with her, and she's still in charge of sport. But I think this really puts a focus on the courses as they are. And if you don't know already, yes, all the courses are wheeled out. Yes, all the courses are measured and everything. They do that in their own background checks and they make sure of it. So just happy that there's somebody that's going to be leading that charge on that side to be the direct contact with the athletes.
And I can honestly, Anthony, just having gotten to know Matt over the last, 18 months here as the APAC region manager, I can't think of anyone better. And as Anthony said, Hyrox are getting better and better at how specific and I guess consistent they are with these courses. It's a 10-meter rule, isn't it, Anthony, that they have a 10-meter, I guess, leeway either side for the courses. If it's 10.1, Matt has said they change the course. It's got to be under that 10-meter ground rule. So I think that's the reason why, and I'm sure it's something that we're going to discuss over the coming episodes, it's why that we just have started seeing so many more consistent race results.
Yeah. They measure the course, and it's got to be between 86.90 and 87.10 on the wheel in order to run the course, or else it needs to be changed. But I wanted to touch on, so this week, an email went out to all the elite athletes announcing Matt as the technical director, as well as it outlined just how a future appeals process will work for the LCQ and for Worlds, so that issues that happen at like Glasgow between Thomas Turdvik and Sean Noble are now clearly defined. So there is an actual setup and an actual process for that appeal. If you feel like something is, and it outlines what is allowed to be appealed. So you can't basically appeal a judge's call, like yes or no rep, you can only appeal missing lengths, missing reps, and uh, impediments. So like something that impeding the progress of another athlete. So misconducts.
And
Uh,
so, what is the process, Anthony, in terms of if an athlete does want to appeal? What's the
so
first step?
Yeah, so the process is they actually have to gather. You have from the time the race ends, so the last person of that heat, or in the case of the elite race, the last finisher crosses the line. You have 1 hour until it's closed, but you have to collect all of your evidence. So you must collect the evidence yourself and submit that with a written statement you of what you're appealing, outlined and uh, dictating or referencing the rules, um, which one's being violated and how you see it, and submit that to a Hyrox email within 1 hour of the race finish. And then they will have up to 2 days. So all results are going to be preliminary up until that hour deadline. And if there is an appeal, multiple parties will be informed prior to that. And I just want to say it shows that this group of Hyrox employees, the directors, and the teams are just phenomenal. It really shows. It goes to show how much they care about the sport and the constant improvement and professionalism of the sport. That they're actually trying to get everything right and make sure when things do happen, they are correcting them right away and making rules for the future about it, so that you make a mistake once, okay, but don't make it again. And they're kind of leaning that way, and I appreciate that.
No, I agree, because this is kind of what we see in professional sports now. We see, judiciary boards and things like that going on. So that's probably the way Hyrox is going to go. What's your thoughts around that's interesting that the athlete has an hour, did you say, within the 60 minutes they have to make the complaint? What's your thoughts on that? I guess my first thought is it makes sense to me, because you want Hyrox to be able to make a quick enough decision. You don't want athletes waiting, a whole week to find out. But then I kind of also go, is that enough time for an athlete to say, rewatch a race? Do they really have to have seen something happen on the spot there in the race to then be able to make a complaint or
So
have an
this
appeal
is
about it?
kind of this is kind of it's going to be advantageous for a. It's kind of just going to correct. Um, it's going to correct egregious errors, right? They don't want it to be nitpicky. I don't want you to go look at the 35th rep of your lunges and say your knee didn't touch the ground. That's why they excluded that. That's not challengeable anyway. Um, it's missing distances, missing reps, incompleteness that the judge already didn't do, right? It's going to give coaches more importance because they need to be watching on their athletes and stuff. It's going to show, you kind of need, as an athlete now, somebody watching you and making sure that you're good, because if somebody does file an appeal against you, right, now you have to have evidence back yourself up. And the athletes, within an hour of the race, that's pretty tight, so they're probably not going to know unless it is egregious, which I think is the point, is that it needs to be correcting something that should have been done in the moment, not some arbitrary thing that you found way later on.
I think that's a good point you actually make, Anthony, because you don't want. That's what really can sometimes ruin sport, can't it? Those nitpicky decisions that happen, 5 days after a race. We don't want that in the sport of Hyrox. We
Yeah.
want it happening. We want the results as soon as possible. So I agree with you. I think Hyrox has done a really great job to put this together. And I'm glad that, they just always seem to be learning from their experience. And I'm not so much their mistakes, but learning from the challenges that they're faced with.
Mhm.
They're just becoming more and more professional, which I'm loving.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have so much to talk about today. I'd love to go more into
We
this,
do.
but
We
let's
probably
let's
should
talk
crack
about
on.
more. And I'm going to add one more thing that's not even on our topics list right here, and that's that they released all the countries that get to compete in the relay this year. So the way that they set up the relay this year is by participation. So whatever, as of last weekend, whatever countries had the most participation in terms of people qualified for the world championships, the 15 countries that had that got a world championship relay invitational spot, which means they'll be assigned a captain. However, they're going to do that, hopefully very merit based. And then there's 5 wild card teams that have been hugely involved in the community and given a wild card spot that we don't know how that was selected, but a wild card spot by Hyrox to participate. So there are 20 teams in the World Championship Relay Invitational that's happening. I believe that is Saturday night in Chicago.
Yeah, it could be even Friday. We'll have to confirm that. I know it's kind of slammed in the middle of all the races, but I've actually got the list here in front of me, Anthony. I might just quickly read out those countries. I'll start
Yep.
with the 15 countries who have qualified, and then I'll mention the ones who are the wild cards in there. So we've got Australia, Canada, England, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Mexico, Netherlands, New Zealand, Scotland, South Africa, Spain, Sweden, and of course USA. So then the 5 wildcard countries, we've got Belgium, we've got China, Morocco, interestingly enough, South Korea, and United Arab Emirates.
Yeah.
So
And I know
interesting
you
mix.
can't invite everyone, and this is probably a pretty good way of selecting who gets to go.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they let some of these people that are from these other countries that didn't get selected onto neighboring country teams, perhaps,
Yeah.
because some big names are missing there. I'd say the 2 biggest have to be Austria and Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking Austria, where the reigning world champion Alex Ronkovic is at, means that he doesn't have a team, as well as Portugal, where Tiago Lusa and that whole group train out of Portugal. And I know they don't have a franchise there, so that's probably why, because there's no races in Portugal. But that's still tough for them. So I hope they get an opportunity still to compete on another team that's neighboring. And I don't know if Portugal would go with Spain or not, because I think there's tension there, but maybe somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say for anyone watching, even pop in the comments any countries that you think that have been missed. I'd also actually love to know, it's probably a little bit early because we don't know who's in the teams yet, but I'd love to know people's thoughts on who they think are going to be the best competitors because I'm going to state right here and now that Australia is going to be right up there this year.
Well, okay, let's before I go into further, I'm going to skip down a little bit because we're talking about this now. I had a question on here.
Yep.
Do you think that it is possible at Chicago this year in Worlds that anybody can win the Triple Crown, which would be winning
I did see you
individual
ask
elite,
that.
winning doubles elite, and winning relay elite?
My answer is going to be incredibly biased, though, Anthony, and that is my brother. I mean, look, it is a biased answer, but if I try and just take an outsider perspective for a second, I think anyone watching would agree that JK has had the most successful season out of the males. Now, you can beg to differ that, but you've got to look at the facts that JK is the only
2
male
wins,
athlete who's
3
won
podiums,
2
and a
solo
4th.
wins.
Yeah.
100%. Him and Jake Dearden also won in Houston. Now, yes, that world record has been broken, but we're going to get into that Miami race soon. And then we've got the Australian relay team. So I guess the only other one I can think of, it's probably also a biased answer, is your wife. And potentially even maybe Joanna Wettrick. I mean, her and Tia Claire Toomey did an amazing job in the doubles in Houston as well. So very, very biased Australian and sibling opinion here. But they're probably my top picks at the moment.
Well,
Anyone else you can think of?
I would say bias is my wife.
Yeah.
One thing you can't count out, especially on the relay, though, as we saw last year, is another team can win, and that was England last year. They pulled it out and they had great finishes, and we'll get into all that. But that was a question I had: is anybody, if you can think of anybody that could win a triple crown in the Elite 15, let us know who it is.
And just before we get into that, Anthony, Jean Ramirez has just commented to say that hopefully the country qualification system changes for the future because if it is based on participation, countries such as Puerto Rico will never make it. I mean, it's a good point to make. I have to say, I think there would be a reason why Hyrox is only having 20 countries. You've got to consider the number of athletes that are going to be out there at one time. that is a hard race to manage. I wasn't there myself last year for the relay. Were you, Anthony? Because I know Lauren got injured, so
Yeah,
then
we
she
watched
couldn't
from the
actually
balcony.
compete.
We watched from the
Yeah.
balcony the relay. I would say right now this is a good way to do the qualifications, just because of where they're at as a sport. This is only the second year of it. In the future, what could happen is maybe your country has to have a qualifying race in terms of like if you want to be able to qualify, you need it can be like the Olympics where like the people that are going to race it don't have to actually race it, but somebody needs to hit the qualifying standard from that country in order for it to be qualified as one of the top 20 teams. But that's in the future. That's something different. And I'm not sure it's to that level yet or that ability to be able to spread it out like that. You know, once there's more races in Central America and South America, like as it starts to grow, I think, yes, there will be more opportunity for some of those countries to be able to enter the fray.
I think you're right. I think the sport's still growing. It's just not there yet. That's all. But it's only going to be a matter of a couple more seasons until we might see, like you say, that there has to be a qualifying system for the relays because that's what we're seeing now for the Elite 15 doubles, which should we jump into that, Anthony? I know we did want to talk about, though, the Red Bull Doco series, which, if I'm being honest, I've only watched half of the first episode, but I thought it was fantastic. It was so thrilling and very like the oh, what's the series around the Drive to Survive series? Very that type of style. What was your thoughts on it?
That's exactly. So I have watched all of them. If you go to Red Bull TV, you can download the app and you can get all of the episodes. There's 4 episodes out. If you just want to watch the first episode, it's on Hyrox's YouTube, so you can go there as well to check out at least episode 1. I'm sure they'll release more as it comes. I loved it. I think it was very awesome. I think it was, like you said, very Drive to Survive style series about Hyrox and the majors so far this season. I expect to see another episode, like episode 5, after the LCQ, and I would expect to see another episode that wraps up the season post World Championships. I
Yeah.
think the director Ben, he's done amazing, and he's the one that interviewed most of us that are in the series. He sits down and he's the one that talks to you. So I think most of this is just all put together by him. And man, they did such a good job on it. And it really follows the storyline of the season, obviously with an emphasis on the Red Bull athletes. So you get to see athletes like Ida and Lucy Proctor and Jake Dearden throughout but it also follows the whole storyline of how the season has gone. So I think it's a fantastic job. And if you haven't got an opportunity to watch all the episodes yet, take a look. They're great. And I love Bernice has on our notes here some of JK's regular quotes that
I was going to suggest, look, I don't know if drinking game is the best suggestion given we're a fitness racing podcast. So replace alcohol with whatever you will. But watching the first episode, just count how many times JK says quotes such as, I'll be honest with you, or I know for a fact, or my favorite, I'm not afraid to say.
it's a few throughout the episodes. I think one of my favorite ones is actually at the Las Vegas. It would have been just a home run hit if he in that episode. I've watched it multiple times. He says, you know, they asked him, or I think he was asked if he thought Hunter was going to win or if Hunter's going to win the Las Vegas race. And JK, there's a long pause, and he goes, "I bet he thinks he's going to win." And it was very poignant right there. The whole time.
Great
I
response,
loved it.
James. Great
Yeah.
response. Should we get into the elite doubles, Anthony? I'm conscious we've
Yes.
already been going for almost half an hour and we want to talk about the doubles. We've got the LCQ happening this weekend. I mean, there is just April in itself has been a huge month for Hyrox and fitness racing.
Yeah, and really, this is we're in the middle of a 3-week bender of Hyrox. Basically, last week was the first 2 Elite 15 Pro doubles, along with a DecaFit, SoCal, and then this weekend we got the LCQ, which I mean, all eyes on the LCQ. This is one of the biggest pro races that we've seen. And then the following weekend we got the Elite 15 doubles again in London. It's the last one of the season, so a lot of good things coming up and a lot of good things coming out of this. So we're right in the middle of these two. So we got a lot to review today before we get on to previewing. So
Definitely. Should we start with Paris, do you think? I'm looking here with the
yeah.
Paris men's pro doubles, which for anyone who doesn't know, it was a later wave who actually ended up winning at that particular event. So at first we had Bo Wills and Eugenio Bianchi, followed by Yannick Saspler and Tim Vinish in that first wave. And I believe those who actually came third, it was, I'm going to butcher this name, I'm sorry, but is it Hedi Wiesma? Hedi?
Hide Wersma and
Hede
Terry
Wiesma, yep.
Wilgenberg.
That's them. And they actually came third, but then were bumped down by Alan KO and Thomas Fry in a later wave. And then I believe it was only a matter of about 10, 20 minutes later where out of the blue, Roberto Vicidio Gemino and Luis Garcia Rubio managed to shock everyone and came home with a time of 50 minutes and 27 seconds, just 2 seconds ahead of Bo Wills and Eugenio Bianchi in that earlier wave. So crazy just to think what can happen with these
Yep.
doubles races.
Absolutely, and that's tough, trying to get the heats right for that and everything. And I actually received an email about this that I'm gonna read because it was somebody asking us a question on a hybrid coaching podcast in a similar way. And I'm gonna skip through some of this email because they were pretty fired up about there being about the way they phrased it. But I want to say the summary says that I'm keen to get your thoughts on the waves heat formats of Hyrox. And so they asked this to be addressed on our hybrid coaching podcast, but this seems more of a beyond the grid than it does that. So I'm keen to get your thoughts on the waves/heats format of Hyrox. They go such a stacked field, difficult to watch. My gripe is there being several heats and waves. They had the Dutchmen qualify as they crossed the line, only for them to be, and they used the word gazumped by athletes in a later wave. Anyone who wants to qualify should be in the same wave so that that's the race rather than a time trial. Too many variables, lots of athletes on course. And they went on to a couple other things. And then included in, is that what's going to happen in Barcelona? And I kind of agree. I'm not as fired up about it because, people can win from later heats, but I think that there should be a qualification declaration, as in, if you want to be able to qualify, you have to declare and say, we are going for a qualification. And then Hyrox will do their best to put you in that first wave. And if that first wave is overflowed, you'll at least be in the second, so that a situation like this where somebody comes, they didn't even start for over an hour after that first wave, right? So they were able to see the times, get the splits, and if they had somebody on course, they could have been telling them, you need to be here, here, here. And yes, they still have to be able to run that, but they get a little boost in determining where they're at compared to others, and can modulate their efforts based on that.
I was going to say, Anthony, I think it's a good point you make because I'm kind of comparing it to when you sign up to do a marathon or a half marathon, like an actual event. You usually are signing up for a certain wave because they're the runners that you're going to be running with. So again, it's probably going back to a point that we made earlier that the sport is still progressing. I'd say Hyrox will get there. One note that I did make, I guess, a question for yourself is, do you think this really is on Hyrox, or do you think it's also partially the athlete's responsibility to be letting Hyrox know, hey, I'm going for this qualification, can you put me in the first wave?
I think it's both ways, but I think that's why
Yeah.
you need to say, Hyrox needs to put it on the athlete. If you don't tell us, if you're not in this wave that we designate as the qualification wave, then even if you win, you're not qualified because you weren't racing the people that are racing for that qualifying spot. So it eliminates that. And if the athletes want to be in that wave and they say, I want to be in that wave, and there's 40 spots and there's 50 people that declare it, then what'll happen is you can split the waves into two, but you make them go off relatively close to each other so that the course layout, the course system is almost as identical in terms of time of day, people on the course, everything, as each wave is.
Yeah. The
And
other
I don't think that was an issue here. I was told, because I had asked the question, these guys, Roberto and Luis, when it like they had the same judges, the elite like judges, people watching them, like they actually ran these times. Like I would have, without being told that, I would have questioned their times. They had a 3:04 wall ball, which just doesn't happen for men. Um, but they were sound and sound. They were through, and like it, they were validated that it was properly judged. It was done, so they ran through, and that was their time. That's great. I would have loved to see them in the race with these other guys, and seeing if
Definitely.
it had changed anything, because that's part of it, right? You shouldn't be able to time trial something where other people were racing.
Exactly, because there's I don't want to say a big difference, but there's a difference between racing and time trialing. The other question I had, Anthony, that I'm not sure if you know the answer to, is if we all know that with the doubles, with the Elite 15 doubles, if one of the partners for whatever reason gets injured or sick or they can't race on the day, you can't go and find another partner. It has to be the two that qualified on the day. Do you know, Anthony, what Hyrox's rulings are around if that happens on the
So
day? Where
they
does it drop
said,
down to?
well, they said when they first announced it that if a team pulls out or is unable to compete, it rolls down to the event that they qualified in. So
Right.
right now, for example, Kiernan Parkinson and Tony Ravel were fourth in Australia and fourth in Miami. So if one of those teams is unable to compete Saturday night, then Tony Ravel and Kiernan Parkinson would be the ones in for basically six teams. They're the replacement right now.
Right. Okay. That I mean that probably makes sense to me. I thought maybe they might do it based on the time of all the fourth place podiums within each race, but that makes it a little bit difficult because then you're comparing course for course, and that's not technically fair. Because I know we'll get into Miami in a second in terms of we seem to think that was a bit of a fast course. But no, look, incredible results from the men. I mean, 2 seconds between first and second place, that time of 50:27 by Roberto and Lewis in Paris, and then followed by Bo and Eugenio. I can't wait for this Elite 15 doubles race, to be honest, Anthony. Do you agree that I think it's going to be a very different race to the solos?
Yeah, so I still think like your gold standard is the individual race. That's what everybody like is striving for. That's where the accolades are. That's actually where the prize money is too. But this doubles race is getting more and more interesting. It's drawing a lot of eyes. I don't think it'll be at the level of interest as the individual race in terms of like viewership. But for all of us that are in the sport and like following the actual sport and that close community that we are, like we're tuned in. You watch the individual race and like that you're watching that. That's fantastic. This doubles race is so exciting as well as the relay. Like I think they're kind of on the same thing. Like it's just a different type of race and it's an opportunity to see different athletes. Now, are the athletes that don't get the opportunity at the individual race going to succeed in the doubles race and in the relay? We'll see. But for right now, like they get their opportunity to race on the course with these other elite athletes, and it's going to be exciting if nothing else.
Oh, it definitely will be. And it's one thing that I just did a podcast last night actually, and I've just uploaded it this morning with Ian Kay for a bit of a preview into the LCQ, but we kind of spoke about the doubles. It's one thing Ian and I were talking about is that I feel like, there's a lot of Elite 15 athletes obviously within the mix. When we, eventually after London get the lineup, I'm sure we'll do it in a future episode of those Elite 15 doubles, or the 15 pairs. It's interesting to see, yes, there's a lot of Elite 15 solo athletes, but there's also a lot of other athletes who haven't ever even reached that Elite 15 kind of level. Do you think, Anthony, we're going to see some athletes go all in on doubles because that's just what they're better at naturally?
I think for a lot of the athletes right now, that's where they're good at, like that's what they're doing at. But I still think like if they get the opportunity to go individual, they're going to go there too. And the doubles
Yeah,
is still something that they can focus on. I think for a lot of teams out there, like the guy commenting right now, Marcus Wallace, he was on
I
that
saw his
list.
comment.
He's on that list of the top 40 men, and he's close. And like if he gets some more opportunities to race, he might actually make that jump into the top 15 of the individuals. But I think this doubles gets him that experience, gets him that thrill of being the Elite 15 at Worlds with a partner now, and those guys are right there. Like, I don't think there's a big difference right now between any of those top 5 teams that have qualified, if not more.
The one thing I think we could see with the doubles, honestly, is a finish like we did with Sean Noble and Thomas Turbdick. I just think the finishes are going to be so incredibly tight with the
It's,
doubles.
I mean, I think we're going to know early on because there's not a lot of, in a doubles race, especially on the wall balls, there's not a lot of separation there because people do wall balls at a certain rate. And when you get tired in an individual race where you might drop and have to wait, instead your partner's picking you up and they're going for a set of 20, 30 reps. And so all of a sudden that dynamic changes and you're able to do faster reps and go quicker. So no, you're not seeing 6, 7 minute wall balls. You're not seeing 5 minute wall balls. Like, I know that Hide and Cherry got dinged a lot for no reps because of depth and stuff. So they ended up having like a 420 on their wall balls, which might have been it was the difference between them qualifying and not. But they, you don't see wall balls like that. Most of the men are below 4 minutes, and there's not going to be a lot of separation there.
Even the women are incredible. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't want to skip ahead too much, but for the Miami women's pro doubles, the wall balls is really what won Jess Petro and Maria Fekic the race. But before we get to Miami, let's just quickly recap the Paris women's pro doubles. So we had familiar names: Linda Meyer, Viola Oberlander, 55-39, followed by Seka Arning and Rebecca Frank, 55-56. And then 2 ladies who I didn't really know a lot about, but Ian Kay actually mentioned to me before the race that they were ones to watch, and he ended up being right. But Margot van den Lindenloof and Charlotte van den Lindenloof, 57-16. So some great times there by the
Yep.
females.
And then you can go down even further too, because you got Marie McGinley and Rachel O'Connor at 57.50, and Alice Schur and Tanya Strohschneider at 58.10. Right there, though, you're that third place one, Margot van den Lindenloof and Charlotte van den Lindenloof. Margot has one of the top fastest times not already qualified for Worlds for women this year, as well as how nice is it to just go get your sister and be like, hey, come run this with me, and then be able to go qualify for Worlds out of a race, which is just fantastic. And then obviously the top 2 there, Linda and Viola, just absolutely 2 staples in the sport. Linda, at one time, Linda held the world record for the women's pro. Viola is back-to-back world runner-up in 2020 and 2021. Like, they have been in this sport. They have been in Worlds. They have both been multiple times top 5 at the World Championships individual side, and they know each other really well, teaming up. 2 great people as well. So to see them be able to go out and put up a competitive time like that, like, that's fantastic. I'm very excited to watch the doubles on Saturday night at Worlds. Like, that's going to be just a great race, no matter what it comes down to. And those 2 have to be in, like, podium. Everybody, you got to say, like, well, wouldn't be a shock to see them podium. Wouldn't be a shock to see them anywhere on the podium.
Not at all. That's the thing about the doubles is I find it's going to be a much harder race to predict who's going to win. Then I feel like with the solos, you can probably narrow it down to, I'm going to say, 3, maybe 4 athletes on either side that will win the race. I'm talking about not podium, just predominantly win. In terms of the doubles, honestly, with the lineup that we have at the moment, oh God, I could pick 6, 7, maybe 8 of those couples who could win. So it's going to be incredible. But let's talk about Miami, Anthony, because we saw some world records broken there. And we should remind everyone that that world record was only recently broken for the men's anyway by Jake Dearden and James Kelly in Houston. And then we had Rich Ryan and Pelayo Menendez Fernandez break it with a time of 48:31, as well as Rylan Shadeg and Ryan Kent, who came in second with a time of 49:51. You weren't there yourself, Anthony, were you, in Miami?
No, I wasn't in Miami. I was in Southern California at the time, which we'll get to later about Deca Fit. But yeah, I think I only caught the end of this race on the live streams. So, but I was able to watch the women's race there, and just, it was fantastic. To see the Oh no, the men's race. I was driving home and I got commentary about it
Right.
towards the end. That's what happened. Um, but yeah, like just great times. Everybody knew that Paleo and Rich would be fast. They have the doubles open world record, and they came out and did their thing, right? And it was just a fantastic thing. And whether I know, like a lot of people like to talk about fast or slow courses, but no matter what, like we know, like I said earlier, the courses are wheeled and measured. They always are, and yeah, they don't share it publicly, but they are wheeled and measured. So there's no shortness in this course, right? And really, the biggest difference is just the setup. And there's whether courses run fast or run slow, and whether they have longer in betweens and how many turns and 180s. So I'd say it's more about which courses are efficient versus inefficient. And the coolest thing is that it doesn't matter because we're going to see them all race on the same course against each other in Chicago.
Exactly. And to add to that, as of the World Championships, won't we be seeing the consistency with the sled turf that they're now going to be using from Centre Fit? So that will then be ongoing. So that will be interesting to see, I guess, as of the next season, if that plays out to produce some more consistent results. Because at the moment, as you say, we're always going to see these courses that are technically fast courses or slower courses, and that's predominantly more based on the sleds than it is the actual running track.
Yeah, it's based on efficiency of how the runs are set up and where the basically rock zone is, because the rock zone is longer and shorter, but the total is always going to equal between 86.90 and 87.10. Now that being said, yeah, we don't know what the new turf is like. No, it's not out there yet. They're going to find out at Worlds, so we'll see. Like, I believe the goal is to make it more consistent, right? Consistency across the field, and that's exactly, as long as it's always an effort to move towards that direction. I think that's a great role and a great position for Hyrox to be in, and they're working towards it, I'd say.
Yeah, they are. I do want to shout out Ben Sutherland and Harry Sutherland, who ended up coming third within that race with a time of 50 minutes and 16 seconds. You know, they're just some athletes, Anthony, who I think maybe surprised everyone with their result. They were followed closely by Kieran Parkinson and Tony Revel, who, as you mentioned earlier, they've already placed fourth. This is their second fourth place in an Elite 15 doubles race. I do know that they've already committed to London, though.
Yeah,
So we're going to see them have another go.
absolutely. And I know I've talked to Kieran before. I think that he absolutely wants to, they want to go the doubles route. Like, that is their target, that is their goal. Um, so I know that for sure they're going to go to London. They're going to try to get their spot there. And then um, what's crazy is that like that's an over 2 minute performance that, and I know they had some rough travel getting to Australia. They had that 24-hour flight snafu, and they got stuck. Was it in Thailand or somewhere? And then they went and raced and did like a 53 in Australia and ended up in fourth. Here they have, not that I saw any travel issues, and they do a 51 in Miami. So very close, not far out on either one, you know. So they're right there, and I think that given the opportunity to race, they won't be last if they get into the race in Chicago.
And you're just looking here at the results of both the men's from Paris and then Miami. And then I'm just thinking back to, the Houston results and Melbourne. I think to be competitive in this race, Anthony, you need to be doing 51 minutes or less almost. You definitely need to be kind of sub 51 to be on the podium. I think we're likely probably going to see some sub 50 minutes at World Championships on Chicago, depending on the course itself, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, and again, it won't be a time trial course. It'll be a course where everybody's facing off against each other, and maybe it's a strategic advantage to get ahead and make it a slow course if you're one of those faster people, or it's a strategic advantage to speed up the race. So we'll see once we get there what people are going to do. But I bet you there's some really strong teams right now, and I still would say my pick is probably around JK or Bo's team. I think they are just, both those teams are flying, and they're both doing so well.
They definitely are. And then speaking of, I
And
guess, some other
Marcus
ones
too.
who,
Marcus and Raw
well,
Debo.
Marcus is
Because
watching, so
I
we've got to
think,
say Marcus.
well, no, I think the reason I say that is because I think they have one of the biggest advantages in doubles is that Marcus and Dawson live near each other and get to practice together. There's nothing like there is nothing like the communication and practice you get being able to train together to know who needs to switch off when and be able to read and feed off each other. And I bet Marcus is just in there just doing the work, getting it done, and come Chicago, Raw Debo could be on the podium.
And the other thing we probably got to point out, Anthony, is we've got to consider the fatigue element of that weekend. You know, there's going to be the elite race on the Thursday, the
Yep.
relay I think is the Friday, and then we've got the elite doubles on the Saturday. I think that's the
Yep.
schedule anyway.
Yep. And
So you know,
like Marcus said, everyone will be tired after individual races except for Raw Debo. And like you just said too, yeah, you know, some of these racers, if they're on their country's teams, they could be 3 races deep. This could be their 3rd elite race of the weekend. You know, you don't know what's going to be left in their legs at that point.
yeah, I only just saw Marcus's comment there. I didn't understand your Raw Debo joke, but I pretended to laugh anyway. Now I
That's
get
what
it, Marcus.
so Marcus and Dawson, that's their team.
Right, now I understand. But no, I think that's a huge element to factor in. So I would just never put it past, you know, some of the non-elite 15 athletes, I should say, you know, taking away podium spots. But let's turn our eyes to the Miami women's pro doubles. I didn't get to watch this race, and I've still been planning to go back and watch whoever live streamed it because I believe it was a very intense finish. We had Jess Petro and your athlete from the hybrid engine, Maria Fekic, finish in a time of 57:23, followed very closely with Bridget Brown and Tara Jackson with a time of 57:48. And I believe, Anthony, it was really won on those wall balls. You know, when I compared the two athletes, I could see that Jess and Maria predominantly won on the stations. The running times between the two pairs were completely consistent. The battle was really won from the wall balls, and Jess and Maria also had a better sled pull time as well.
Yeah, and I got to watch this race. Obviously, I was tuned into this one pretty good. Watching Maria and Jess go, they did a great job. They fought. It was a battle between those top 2 teams, almost back and forth the whole way. 1 second separating every time they left the zone. They're leaving together. They're running together. They're entering together. Like lots of the just movement, right? I believe Jess and Maria started to pull away at the farmer carry, and then just they get to the lunges, and Tara and Bridget start lunging, and Bridget is a monster lunger, just step for step, going, going, going. And whether that cost them some or not, I don't know. But I think they put 25 seconds on Jess and Maria on the lunges alone. But the next run, the final run, Jess and Maria, you could hear it. I watched Camilla's live stream with Luca commentating, and Luca yells to them, "You guys are 30 seconds down after the first lap. Then the next lap, you guys are 20 seconds down." And then they enter the wall balls only like 12 seconds back, and they picked up the wall ball only like 3 or 4 reps down, and then they decided they went against their plan. They had planned on doing 20 20 30 30 or 30 40 30 or something like that, and just decided like Maria picks up the ball and is just like, I'm gonna do 50, and she does 50. And so instead of having multiple switches, they just went and did 50-50 with one switch, and Tara and Bridget switched 3 or 4 times, and that just caught up to them and ended up letting them just cross first.
It's interesting that, I mean, did you or James go through a game plan with Jess? Because obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, Maria Fekic is a hybrid engine athlete. Jess Petro is with James with the Proven program and the Proven team. Did you guys go through a game plan with the two of
So
them, or did you let the girls
that's
work it out?
that's funny. What happened is Maria had invited Jess to our one-on-one call, and so Maria, Jess, and I were all supposed to be talking, but Jess was supposed to have her one-on-one with JK the night before. He had canceled and moved it, and they ended up having their own separate one-to-one while Maria and I had our one-to-one, and we gave them 2 different plans, and they came together, and they Maria was messaging me back and forth, and they ended up going with an in-between plan that was pretty good, and obviously it worked out for them. But the number one thing on that is like when you race a doubles, you need to have a plan. You need to expect it's not going to go to plan, but you at least need to know who's going to start and who's going to end the stations, and you have to communicate. And if you can communicate and you have this plan going into it, you at least have a rough outline of what you're going to be able to do, and then you just see how well it can be executed.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, I guess things can just change on the day, as they do in the solo as well. Sometimes you have to be a little bit adaptable, don't
Yep.
you? But
And I want to give a shout out. We didn't write out who was fourth and fifth in this race, but I want to give a shout out to Chris
oh, of
Rogowski and
course.
Katie Simonson as well, because those two, fourth in Houston after getting swooped in from a later wave as well by Alina Rukachaz and Morgan Schultz, who ran a great time. Um, but those two were pretty bummed to have missed out in Houston. Go here, get their qualifying spot. Fantastic job. I did have a conversation with them before their race. We were able to talk over a strategy, and they went out and they executed very well. So happy for them. They get their spot into the Elite 15 doubles. They get a race that Saturday night. And so it's going to be awesome to see all these teams going head to head when that time comes.
What do you think, Anthony? We were saying for the men's that you probably really need to be in that, sub 51-minute mark to be able to win the race. What do you think for the women's time? I mean, just for a bit of background, we had Tia and Joanna recently break that world record with a time of 54:24. Yeah, what do you think for the women's? I mean, is it a sub 55
I
maybe?
think I think if you want to win the race, you got to run the fastest on the day. If you want to beat the
Great
other
call,
team, you got
great
to score
call.
more points, right? So, you, most John Madden thing I've ever said right there. No, yeah, it's going to be interesting head to head with some teams. I definitely think there are powerhouse teams, and I don't think Maria and Jess should be counted out of being one of those teams that is a powerhouse,
Definitely
especially
not.
composed of two Elite 15 athletes. Like, it is very strong, and when there are people racing like that, it is going to be uh, it's going to be a dogfight come race time
Yeah.
on in Chicago.
And we're going to get into it, but with the LCQ, there's actually a fair few who raced on the weekend in the doubles. Maria Fekic is one of them who's racing in the LCQ this week, so a bit of a double up weekend. There's a few on the men's side as well. Look, I won't name them yet because we're going to get into the LCQ, but let's just quickly look at London. We're not really going to preview it yet because we don't know the start list, and I guess all we can really say is that, I mean, it's the last Elite 15 doubles race of the season. I think it's safe to say it's going to be stacked.
I think you're gonna see everybody that thought they should have got a qualifying spot already and hasn't go, as well as some people that we haven't seen. On the women's side, you're gonna see the reigning pro doubles world champions, Zara and Kate. They have 3 of the top 10 women's pro double times ever ran, and they have like the 3rd or 4th fastest pro doubles time ever run. They have better communication than most. They live, close enough to this venue that they're not going to be flying in. There's a lot of advantages to them, and it's almost like a home race. So I would say not to get ahead of ourselves for London, because Zara still is going to be going through this LCQ this weekend. But I can tell you what, those two, Kate's been running again, and those two team up for a doubles better than almost anybody.
Yeah.
So it's going to be amazing to watch them go. But they're not the only ones that are going to be tough. On the women's side alone, you're whispered teams that you've heard before, because the start list isn't out, is obviously Camilla and Meg. They missed out on Miami, so they're going to go there. I've heard Lucy Proctor and Sinead Bent, and then possibly Lucy Davis and Gabriella Moriarty as well. So
And on the
there's gonna
men's
be some.
side, I did have down here John Wynn and Graham Halliday, but I've since heard, and look, I might stand corrected come next week, but I've heard that John is really just focusing on the LCQ this week, and they've decided not to race in London. But I think we'll definitely have, Kieran Parkinson and Tony Revel racing again, probably Alan KO and Thomas Fry. I'm sure there's a plenty of others that I just can't seem to think of off the top of my head right now. So I'd say we'll
Well,
preview that next
I
week.
I know that, yeah, we'll get to that next week, because I know Hide and Cherry, They had said only Paris, and now they were so close in Paris, they're like, well, maybe London. Um, but you have a lot of other people like Jake Williamson. I'm sure I've heard he's going to get a new partner for London. So we'll see what happens in the LCQ for him. I think a lot of the London right now is people are banking that they're going to be able to get in, but they might not have a spot in there yet right now, and they're focusing on the LCQ.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
thinking, I'll worry about London after. All right.
Huge weekend, but it was also a
Big.
huge weekend for you guys in the States with Deca Fit. Tell us a bit about it,
Yeah, so
Anthony.
we were on both coasts this weekend, right? There's people racing in Miami, and we were actually in California. So Deca Fit, if anybody doesn't know, Deca Fit is 10 stations. You run 500 meters before each station, and then you do one of 10 movements. Three of those movements are the rower, the ski, and the assault bike. Three just absolutely brutal movements. Obviously favor men, and then some other body weight movements and just like explosive things. Finishing with ram burpees, which is basically just a devil's press with implement called a ram. So I don't know. There has been a Deca Fit pop-up in Australia, right? I believe. There was one Deca Fit there.
Yeah, it's just not really, hopefully it does make its mark here, but it hasn't really lifted off. Like they haven't held any official Deca events. It's more just been part of pop-ups or, fitness expos and things like that. So hopefully it starts to become a little bit more popular over here.
Yep. So we'll just go over some of the results. We'll start with the men. The Deca Fit SoCal, Grayson Kilgore, also going to be racing in the Barcelona LCQ this weekend. He was 5 seconds off his PR. He had a 29:37. And what's crazy is that in Deca Fit, it is a 5K that you run, and it's always measured very well as well. But they split out your 5K time, so they'll tell you what your 5K is. And the way a Deca Fit works is it's actually like a 250-meter loop, and the stations are all inside that loop, and you just come off the course. So there's no like rock zone where you're running through or anything. So Grayson Kilgore, he did a 5K time of 17:46, which is blistering fast, right? I wish I could run a 17:46 5K without doing the stations. Come up with a time of 29:37. He was the only man to go under 30. Chaz Hatton, also a hybrid engine guy, 31:59 with an 18:53 5K. Glenn Race, 32:10, 18:24 5K. Aaron Nolan, 32:10, 19:35 5K. And John Clark, 34:06 with a 19:36 5K. So those are all the men's top five. Obviously, they ran really well. Grayson might be, right now at least, the favorite going into Deca Fit World Championships in terms of time and his capabilities. I believe he was top 3 last year, if I remember that right. Dylan won, and I think Grayson was second or third. So great job to Grayson, and it was good to see it. So on the women's side, we had a hybrid engine sweep of the podium. See if these names sound familiar. Lauren Weeks, my wife, she set a world record, beating her own previous world record by 24 seconds. She did 31:27 with her 5K time of 17:02.
Which I'll just quickly point out, Anthony, is actually the best 5K time out of all the athletes, better than the men's side.
Yep. So she ran a 17:02 5K within a Deca Fit. Vivian Tafudo, she hit a PR, and actually her time is the 4th fastest time ever ran, and the top 3 belong to Lauren. So Vivian's the 2nd fastest Deca Fit runner ever. Vivian hit a PR 32:07 with her 5K time of 18:19. So she's just under 6 minutes per mile as well in terms of her average pace. And then 3rd place, Lauren Griffith, another hybrid engine, 34:16 with a 5K time of 19:17. And then Grayson's workout partner up in Boise, Idaho, Katie Duke, 34:38 with a 5K time of 19:52. And then 5th place was Bree Schrader, 35:02 with a 5K time of 18:57.
Yeah, wow. Just going back to Vivian really quickly, I just want to say that I feel like she's back. She's obviously I I don't know what she done lately, Anthony. I mean, she's joined you guys, I know. So I know she's being coached by the hybrid engine, but she seems like she's back to, world championship fitness level
Yeah,
Vivian from last year.
and Vivian's been taking to the training great. Vivian is, yes, she is back. She is to the podium contender from Worlds last year. Like she ended up third um, after like the no reps that happened at the wall balls. She is consistently last year. Everybody had Vivian down for fourth. She kind of broke that. She's moving up. She is absolutely a contender for Hyrox Worlds and DecaFit Worlds if she chooses to do it. But yeah, she was, I believe when we had talked, she was approaching that like overtrained type of stimulus. And it's not necessarily overtrained, but just I'd like to say that my number one thing as a coach is I just tell people to go slower. They need to slow down, and all of a sudden they go faster. So that's kind of something we did with Vivian, and she's taken to it super well. Started sometime after Hong Kong around Thanksgiving, and leading into Las Vegas, it had really just started to click, and she got sick going into Vegas. So I'd say everything after Las Vegas leading up to Glasgow, she was feeling good and on point, and she really has come back into the Vivian that everybody knows she can be.
Yeah.
And so I just gotta say, like, it's a privilege to be able to coach her too, because I remember Lauren and I in 2023 when Vivian was kind of not necessarily her rookie year, but it was our first year like going to Worlds and stuff. We had talked and it was like, she's coming up. She's going to be very, very good. And then that year she took fourth at Worlds, and then 2024 she took third. And so we'll just see what she keeps climbing the mountain up and see what happens this year.
Yeah, it's great to see her kind of back in that potential podium spot, honestly. Don't disregard her with the World Championships when they come around. But Anthony, let's get into the LCQ because that is
Yeah.
happening literally, I mean, here in Australia tomorrow for us, or actually, I guess it's not really because it's going to be extremely early Sunday morning, our time. Look, I'm going to say I'm doubtful that my pregnant self is going to be getting up at 1 a.m. in the morning to watch the ladies, let alone 3 a.m. for the men. But I'm excited to wake up Sunday morning and see the results.
Hey, I've gotten up that early to watch Australian races before. uh,
Yeah, but you're a coach. I'm just a keen fan.
um, so Barcelona is the last chance qualifier. That's where the race is at this year. We'll just go over the times first. So the men's qualifier, let's do that first. That will take place at 7:10 p.m. local time, which I believe is GMT +1. So that will be 11:10 a.m. on the Pacific Coast here, and that would make it 4:11, so 3:10 a.m. on Australian East Coast Standard Time.
That's right. And I did actually check. I actually asked Greg from the Rocks Life this question. There won't be a live stream. They will do commentary for the race and then put it on YouTube a few hours later.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know, Anthony, if we know of anyone on the ground who's going to be doing any live stream. If I find out, I'll pop it on, both our socials and let people know.
I'm trying to ask around who is going to live stream it, but yes, I heard the same thing that there is going to be a commentary. It's going to be a post-production, much like the LCQ was last year, where they're going to try to get out a LCQ review basically 1 hour after the race finishes. Last year, I think we had to wait like 4 hours. So I wouldn't expect it to be 1 hour. I would expect it to be maybe a half day. So Bernice, if you're not going to wake up and catch it, probably when you do wake up, you'll get to see the post-production of the Hyrox LCQ.
Yeah, I won't be as invested as I was last year because my brother was racing in that race last year, and I just want to mention that he cried. He cried at the end, and I started crying watching it. So that was a really lame family moment.
He was just so happy. He was overcome with emotion.
So thrilled.
And I mean, he left it out there for that. But yes, previewing this race, I can't believe the field here. It's like it's the widest field, like in terms of the amount of people we've ever seen. Right, it doesn't have the tip of the spear. You don't have like all the big names. You don't have JK, Alex, Hunter, Dylan. you don't have those guys racing here, but you have that field that is trying to earn those last 3 spots. And there are legitimately 30 men who, if you told me those are the 3 guys that got it, I'd be like, well, yeah. Like, and it doesn't matter which 3 of those 30 you name.
Yeah.
That it is absolutely possible for any of them. I believe the number is like 40 or 43 men have gone sub 60 in this field.
It's crazy.
And that's so impressive. But especially in a race like this, it is extremely important that there's not stragglers in the back heats. Like, people need to declare that yes, we are racing and this is what we're going for, because that's so important to not be one of those people wiped out. Have your dreams come true. You took third, you qualified, you're in, only to find out an hour later some back heat person beat you by a second because they were able to see your times and their fans were going, you got 1 second, because it's always easier to push when you know you have that second.
Oh, definitely. I'm really glad to see, from what I can tell from the start list, everyone that should be in that first wave in both the male and female side, maybe bar one on the female side, is in that first wave. So at the moment, I'm glad to see that. Could you kind of see anyone, Anthony, that was in
So
later waves?
here's what I saw as of yesterday. So I don't know if they changed it, but the later heats, the people that I saw in later heats. So we'll go over to the first heat in just a minute. But John Ander Obeso, Par Bergsman, Alphonse de Ruiz, Austin Azar, Cherry Willigenberg,
Okay.
Harry Sutherland, Aaron Travers, Sem Taberg, and Ben Sutherland and Thomas Fry. Those are all people we've just recently talked about because they did amazing at the Elite 15 doubles in Paris and Miami. So you know what they're capable of, but those are people that I found in later heats. So
Yeah, so
not
it's
in the
still a
first
fair
heat.
few,
So
isn't it?
yeah, that's rough. So we can talk about a few of those people first, and then we'll get into the real, like, the first heat heavy hitters. That's going to be a bloodbath of a show. Um, and one of those, I would say, on the later heats is probably Sem Taberg. Sem is a young guy. He's has a lot of open times in the 57 to 58 range, and the one time he went up to pro, I believe he did a 62. He's young. He's I'm very biased because he did sign up on our program a little bit ago, and I've talked to him a few times. So I would say look out for him, as well as um, some of these guys like Austin Azar, Charlie Willigenberg, Harry Sutherland, Aaron Travers, Ben Sutherland, Thomas Fry. Like, those guys all just came close to or got an Elite 15 spot already in the doubles a week ago. You can say maybe they're tired, but these are all guys that definitely deserve to be up in that first heat and should be in that first heat. And they're probably the biggest potentials for if somebody is going to upset from a later heat, it's probably one of them.
Yeah, and like you say, I mean, honestly, so even these names within that list that you just called out, I could see really any one of them getting a podium spot. This is just such a difficult race to call because the competition is just huge. Going back to, I guess, some of the expected names, I'd like to say, that we're kind of seeing here, there's a lot of actual Elite 15 athletes who have raced in Elite 15 races and majors before. We've got Lucas Storeth, we've got Tobias Loutwin, Yannick Saspler, we've got Afan Humphreys and Sebastian Iverson, Sadiq Elvatori, John Wynn, Harry Thompson. I mean, they've all raced. Sean Noble, obviously, probably quite a favourite for the race. They've all raced in Elite 15 race fairly recently. That's already, I don't know how many I listed just then, 6 or 7 athletes. And who knows if they're even going to get podium spots.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're gonna have time to go through each and every one of these guys, but there are so many
No.
good guys on here with so many fast times. Um, Obviously, we'll point out some of them. I'm gonna start with Sean Noble because he is a hybrid engine athlete as of the end of Glasgow.
Oh, I
He
didn't
signed up,
realize.
so
Okay.
yeah. So Sean, been talking to him. He just had a great sim or partial sim the other week. I'd expect him full go, ready, pumping, absolutely hitting on all cylinders going into this race. Additionally, I don't know like how anybody can ever overlook Tobias Lotvine. If you have a Mount Rushmore, the four most amazing athletes ever in Hyrox, Tobias's resume puts him right up against Alex Ronkovic. Tobias has won a world championship. He's taken third, I think, twice or one other time, and fourth. Like, the guy is there, and the guy wins, and he's done amazing. So I'd say watch out for Tobias, especially because no matter what happens, especially with a field like this, Tobias runs his own race. Tobias is one of the only people that can do that, no matter how crowded the field is. He's not going to get caught up. He's going to go out and do what he's capable of, and you'll probably see him coming off the rower somewhere near that top 5, and he's just going to keep making a push for it. We don't know what kind of shape he is in. He's got a lot of family commitments, but the guy knows how to do Hyrox. And obviously, you already mentioned John Wynn and Yannick Schapla, who both are just fantastic. They've been in the multiple of these Elite 15 races this year and several of the majors, with each one of them having at least one major where they were the first person out. John was the first person out in Hong Kong, and Yannick was the first person out in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was going to mention Yannick because he's, I believe, just looking at his results here, he's raced in every single major so far this season. Obviously hasn't got his qualifying spot yet, but just to refresh everyone's memories, he actually came fourth in Amsterdam with a time of 56:10. Now, I do recall with that race, I think it was something like between 4th and 11th place. There was literally a matter of 60 seconds. So it goes to show that, I mean, anything's going to happen in this LCQ. But he's a hot contender, as is John Wynn.
Yeah. Everybody, I believe, knows about John Wynn, knows his story. He's had great, consistent success this year, and it's good to see, if he has a race where it's unfortunate he was ill in Glasgow, but if he can have a race where he's healthy, and I've heard he's healthy, and short travel, because he does live in Spain, short travel to Barcelona, this could be his opportunity to get that spot. You rewind just a year or two ago, and JK and John Wynn and Bo Wills were all kind of that middle pack guys fighting for each other, and you've seen the progression and where Bo and JK are now. So John Wynn, he can follow suit, getting a good win here, or getting at least his qualifying spot.
Yeah, he's probably one that I guess I would be surprised if he didn't get a spot, but then again, the field is just so stacked, honestly. I know I mentioned earlier when I did the podcast with Ian last night, we did do our picks, and I know you're not going to do picks, Anthony. I'm trying to remember who I actually picked, and I think it was John Wynn. I know Harry Thompson I actually threw in there, and who was my third? Sean Noble, that's who it was, of course. I do think Sean Noble will be up there, but I guess a few of the other names who might be familiar to people, Ollie Fricker, Florian Garst, who I know is racing with someone else who's also racing in the LCQ, Fabian Eisenlauer. They're racing the doubles together in London. We've got then Aaron Woodman, Aita Lazario Hormilla. I don't know him myself. Do you know much about him?
No, but I've heard his name before, and so this list is basically the people
It's
that I wrote
huge.
down that I saw on this, and we could go so many people. I believe these are all people with at least one sub 60 time. You got Sadiq El Fattori, Eugenio Bianchi, Jake Williamson, Hugo Hugo. He's the only person that if you talk to people, they consistently say he does more volume than Dylan Scott. Alan Cow. And then Alan Plage, Charlie Botterill, young kid again, who has a lot of fast open times and does have 1 or 2 fast pro times and races a lot. So you got these people, Danny Ray, Fabian Eisenlauer, Grayson Kilgore, and then you also have Hide Wersma, and him and Cherry at Paris did amazing. Mark Dean, Peter Schiller, Roberto Vicente Jimeneo, who they were the team that won Paris from the later heat. Tom Rogers, Gabe Heck, Thiago Lusa, Joffrey Voisin. There are names forever on this list that you can go through. So the men are going to be exciting. Do you want to do picks, Bernice? I'm not going to. there's a lot here. I could say I think the only consistency I've heard is that Sean Noble, I think, is one of the people that almost everybody has as taking a top spot, one of those top three, as well as I don't ever think anybody should ever count out Tobias, no matter what the race is.
I
He
think,
was a roll down last year and got sixth in Worlds.
yeah, that's it. Oh, honestly, it's so difficult to do picks within this race. I'll do them myself, but it's it's probably easiest to go with athletes that have raced so many times within this level of competition. So I'm probably going to place some pretty safe bets here. I'm going to go with John Wynn. I think I'll go with Sean Noble. I think one thing about Sean that will surprise no one is that he's probably going to want it more than anyone because he's lost the spot. So he's going to go in there, I think, fighting all the way. And, I'd probably go with either, I'm kind of tossing up Tobias, maybe even a Yannick Saspler. God, it's really difficult. My picks will probably all, not get the podium spots in the end. It'll probably be three athletes that aren't the Elite 15 athletes. But like I said, I think it's easiest to go with them because they've got the experience of this level of competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now we get to go on to the women, which it doesn't
Yes,
get any easier. And
it's
just
equally
like you
stacked.
said, uh, I would as well, if I was picking, go with experience in most of these cases. Like, yes, all these women are fast, but experience does matter, and that's going to come into play not only on the men's side. I believe that's going to come into play on the women's side a lot. Um, but we wrote out here everybody that has a sub 64 women's time, which is crazy that sub
That's crazy.
64 is the cutoff line for like where you would expect the top women to come from. When literally just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the world record was just under 64.
That's just crazy. And looking at this list, I mean, yeah, the picks. I don't know how I'm going to pick another three ladies from this list, but we've got, one of your athletes, Zara Piagiani. Zara is one of those athletes, we've said it probably time and time again. She has literally just missed out on a qualifying spot at almost every single major. So it's not like she's had a bad season at all. It's literally just been that on the day there's been other athletes who have raced just slightly better and gotten those spots. So she's probably, in my eyes, the favourite for this race. We've then got Viola Oberlander, we've got Jana Lebenstedt, we've got Camilla Massa, Maria Fekic, another hybrid engine athlete, Lena Putters, Jade Skillen, Rebecca Nather, and Jess Towle that are probably all the most familiar names within the Elite 15 circles. So I don't know, Anthony. I'm honestly lost for words with who's going to get up on the podium for this particular race.
Yeah. And like you said, I agree with like Zara is gotta be on everybody's list um, the same way that Sean Noble was on everybody's list, right? Uh, she's proven herself over and over and over and over again, and she's been at all four majors. Her placement in those four majors is seventh, sixth, ninth, and eighth, right? Her worst
Crazy.
place is ninth. And if you go back and look at it, and you look at every single person that has finished ahead of her in all of those races, with the exception of one in Las Vegas, every single person has already qualified for Worlds. She's literally in two of the races, she was the next person up. In the rest of the races, everybody that's been ahead of her in those races has qualified somewhere else. So she is the next person in terms of this race. And I think she, and I know for a fact, she is not fighting just for getting a qualifying spot. She wants to do something, and she wants to just win the race, not just qualify.
Not disqualify. And the other
Um,
thing about Zara is that she's been here before. Like she qualified from the LCQ last year, so she knows what this, I guess, type of pressure is like.
Yeah.
So she's definitely, I think, the favorite for
And
this race.
she's competitive. So like it's been tough for her. Like, yeah, they're great finishes. She's took seventh, sixth, ninth, and eighth, but she's been hungry for that win, and she goes to Belgium and she gets a win a couple weeks ago, and it's like, oh, reignited the fire. Like I think she's gonna go out there and just um, she doesn't want to leave a question mark about what could have been. Like I know she's going out hard and fast. And then also in this race, like you'd already said, Viola, Viola Oberlander is a two-time world runner-up. Like she has been top five at Worlds 3 or 4 times. She's never been in the bottom half of an Elite 15, like in terms of a world championship. Viola is a staple in this sport. We talked about Tobias being possibly be on the Mount Rushmore of Hyrox. Viola is another one. She's been in here forever. She was fourth in the world last year. And then you got Jana Liebenstedt, who's participated in like all these elite races as well. Jana was the surprise from last year's LCQ. Like, didn't really know where she came from. She came in and took second to Zara. Camilla, she won the Anaheim LCQ, the LCQ before the LCQ last year. She won in Anaheim, and she was ninth in Glasgow. Like, Camilla's another one, been around the sport a long time. She's just continuing to progress, and so she got a sub 60 open time in Miami. We'll see where she goes from here. Maria Fecek. Maria is also hungry. She wants to get the spot. She's confident she can. She's been in the Elite 15 now. She was ninth in the world last year. She had a tough time in Glasgow, but she got that experience in Glasgow of like, wow, this is the pace of the race. And I think that's extremely important for a lot of these women. They haven't experienced like the pace of the elite race in a while, and you don't know the difference until you see them on the same course.
Definitely.
And you can run all the pro races you want, but when you get up to that elite level, like it is a different race. And to have that experience of running it and then getting to go back to these pro races, like it's only an advantage. You have more women on here. I think you've already mentioned like Lena Putters and Jade Skillen. Jade Skillen just ran her PR, a 62.07 in Shahar. Rebecca Nader has been around again. Rebecca Nader was second place in the 2019 World Championships, the very first one. So she's had that experience. She's been around a very long time in this sport as well. Jess Toll. And then what's exciting is I don't know if she's racing, but I saw her name on the start list, and I got very excited. And that's Miriam Van Roer. She has a PR of 62 flat, ran a few years ago. She's won the CrossFit Open the last 2 years for the women. She was third at the 2022 World Championships. She is the station monster. If you want to know like the direction this sport has gone, right? Like more runners are doing good. Everybody's kind of doing that run thing. Miriam is the only one who dominates the station so much that your running can't beat her. And it's fantastic. She has the top 4 or 5 times in wall balls and in lunges of any women to ever do the race. She is just extremely fast and proficient at stations. And if her running and her CrossFit has helped her at all get to an aerobic base point where she can maintain some kind of consistent runs, she's going to be dangerous. You don't want her within a minute of you on the back half of that race.
Oh, that'll be great to have her in the mix. Even if she doesn't get a podium spot, just pushing the other athletes along. But we very well could see her right up there. There's so many wild cards within the female side. Tanya Strossnyder, who has raced now in an Elite 15 race, so she has had that experience. She came 12th in Glasgow. She just raced on the weekend with the Elite 15 doubles. Gabriella Moratti, Jezebel Kramer, she also raced in Glasgow and placed 10th, so she's probably a hot contender. Sinead Bent, Alina Brow, Simone Feld. We had down here Tara Jackson. I've since heard I don't know if you've heard anything, Anthony, that she's actually not racing and she's racing in Atlanta. I'm trying to remember where I heard that, whether it was on a podcast or it was on, the socials. So I'll wait and see, I guess, if she's at the lineup. But I have heard that she's actually racing Atlanta instead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had her name down here because I saw her on the start list, but I don't know about that. So
And then we had, Margot van den Lindenloof. I don't believe her sister Charlotte is racing, but, she's just qualified for the Elite 15 doubles in Paris. We've got Kim Evers, Amelia Darman, Melanie Mora, Laura Volgreen, Aoife Faye, who unfortunately is racing in a later heat at 5:50 p.m. Alice Schurer, Magdina Schubert, Chris Rogluski, 2022 world champion, and Yana Thompson. So they're just probably just a few of the wild cards. I mean, who else, I guess, could be on that start list that we
I
just
mean,
haven't even mentioned?
there are so many good women racing here, and some that have just come over from other sports and are starting to do. Um, they're just starting their Hyrox careers, or this is only their third or fourth race, and they're putting their nose in it and trying to go for it. And what's crazy is also there's historically strong people in this race. Obviously, we talked about Miriam and Viola, but you're also looking at Chris and Yane. Chris is one of 4 women to ever say they're a Hyrox world champion, right? Chris won 2022 World Championships. Yane Thompson was 8th in the Manchester World Championships just 2 years ago, and she ran a 103.06 in Hamburg. So there's a lot of really fast, good people. You have a lot of people that have some good open times coming to run as well, including Gabriella Moriarty and Sinead Bent. So I think you're going to see some quick times, and I do think this race maybe comes down to experience in terms of who winds up on top. But I would definitely say like there are some fantastic people out there, and I'm just going to shout out the Hybrid Engine people because I know that they're going to do well, and I'm going to just give them the vote of confidence, and that's Zara, Maria, Jade, and Rebecca. I think they're going to crush.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of my own picks, I was just kind of thinking there. I've already said Zara. Again, I'm probably going to go with safe bets here and go with the athletes that have that experience of racing at this level because it's probably easier to pick them. I'm thinking here Camilla would be definitely a hot contender. I think Maria, though, is definitely right up there. Um, yeah, even Lena Putters. Oh, I don't know, Anthony. It's too
I'll,
hard. But look, I think Zara, Camilla, and Maria is probably who I'm going to go
yeah.
with.
And I'm going to shout out also Jess Toll. I think she's amazing. I believe she actually might still be on the Hybrid Engine as well. So that's just another person that I I put faith in those people just doing absolutely amazing. And I know they're going to fight. So good luck to all the women out there. I don't know. Did you just now pick your top 3? Who do you think is going to get those spots?
Yeah. So I said Zara, Camilla, and Maria. I think.
Yeah,
Looking
that's such a
at look,
hard pick.
it's so hard. But looking at the wild cards, I mean, there's no, I won't even go there. But there's probably a
Mm,
few there that I would even pick. I'm just probably placing the safer bets and going
yeah,
with those that I've seen race more often in this environment. I just won't be surprised if that gives them a bit of a leg up on the day. But again, I just think with races like this, anything can happen.
yeah. I agree. It's going to be tough, and I think there's a lot of good athletes and not enough spots. But that's what happens, right? There's 15 spots. That's what you get, and there's only 3 available here. So it's crazy how good the field is. But I would also lean towards experience in this race.
Just quickly, Anthony, I know we've been going for almost an hour and a half, so thank you for everyone for sticking with us for our first show. But it was actually a question that came up between Ian and I last night, and I'm guessing you'd probably be one to ask. But if a Elite 15 athlete can't race at the World Championships, and it's unfortunate when that happens, but it has happened at almost every single last World Championship. We've had 1 or 2 pull out.
We call it the JK
Do
rule.
Exactly, that's happened in Manchester where JK raced, and then last year it was Paleo who ended up coming in
So
4th place from that.
that's a perfect point. Like there are 3 men last year who pulled out of
Yep.
world championships the day of or the week of, and 3 other people had to replace them. Well, Hyrox has said, where do you get the roll downs this year? It's not from the
Hmm.
majors. You get the roll downs from the last chance qualifier. So, yeah, maybe you don't get the top 3, you don't get your automatic spot, but you know what? You still fight for fourth, fifth, and sixth because
Okay.
you don't know. Like, there's a very good likelihood that somebody pulls out of world championships and you're that next spot. So, fourth place at this race might as well be almost a qualifying
Yep.
spot.
Agree. So I guess it's just to note to everyone listening, watching, that watch out for those results. Who's in fourth, fifth, and maybe even sixth spot after the results roll in, because they very well could be on the start line of the World Championships. Might even be just 15 minutes before, like
Yeah.
JK in Manchester.
And you never know. You never know. So, I would expect, like, keep watching all the way down to fifth place in this race
Hmm.
and on the men's race because you might see those people in the world championship as well.
Definitely. Well, I guess we should wrap up.
Well, before
It's
we wrap
easy
up, I want
to
to say one
continue
more
talking
thing.
about it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
one more thing, and it's we don't want to overlook Hyrox Atlanta that is also happening
Hmm.
this weekend. So Hyrox Atlanta, you can scroll through there and find a couple of Elite 15 names that are racing. Not all on the same day. I don't know who's dodging who, but what we do know is that JK and Ryan Kent are both racing, and Keith Hardwick on Saturday, and Rich Ryan is racing on Sunday. So we're gonna
Okay.
have some good races that could happen in Atlanta. And what's exciting about that is JK just flew over. Like they just landed. He's that now. I think he flew to Tennessee and he's driving to Atlanta. But I'm excited to see him. If anybody's able to live stream it, maybe Georgie, can you live stream it to me?
Yeah, please,
The
Georgie, if you're
race,
still watching.
yeah, that
No
race,
pressure.
that race on Saturday would be fantastic if we can get
Do
anybody
we
to show it.
know, just before we wrap up, Anthony, do we know what time that particular wave is? I was actually trying to find James's name on the start list
I
last night,
found,
and James, it's not there.
yeah, JK's name is not on the start list, but Ryan Kent's start time says 7 p.m.
Okay,
So I
so
don't know if
7
that's
p.m.
right, but there looks like there's a lot of different heats, so they might not be all in the same heat. Um, Marcus says Rich is out. Does that mean he's dodging JK? Is that what we're saying?
Could be. You never know.
And then,
For any, so 7 p.m. Okay, Atlanta time. So that's
oh,
9 a.m. here
Rich's
in
name is on
Sydney.
the start list for Sunday,
Okay,
not Saturday.
so
Yeah, I
just
don't see
different
JK's
wave.
name on here, but JK is racing. It's just a way to get the heaviness out of his legs after that long flight.
Maybe he's under an alias, Jimmy Jam.
Jimmy Jam. Yeah. So he'll be in there, and then Keith Hardwick is also racing, and Keith, well, at least he's signed up for this race. I am curious how many people are have pulled out after doing the Elite 15 doubles from here. But Keith is going to be racing at 7:10 is his start time. So evening
Okay.
races. Evening races means it's daylight for you.
Yes, 9 a.m. here in Sydney. So I'll be watching. Thanks, Georgie. No pressure to do a live stream.
Perfect.
Look, I guess we better wrap up. But thanks for everyone for watching our first show. As Anthony said, we will make this a little bit more creative as we learn a few more things. With a bit more intro music and exit music and all of that going on. And we'll also be uploading this, so we're going to set that up today. Beyond the Grid hybrid, and we'll upload that to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the platforms, so that you can also listen to it at your own leisure.
Yep. Oh, and Marcus says Colin Stiefer's racing Atlanta. So perfect.
Oh, thanks, Marcus.
Great to see.
Marcus, you should
And
jump on the
thank,
show. You
yeah,
seem to know everything.
everyone, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Like we said, we are trying to make this more and more professional. So each week we'll make it a little bit better. So maybe next week we have an intro or at least a little countdown or something. And then we'll also start doing an outro and get you guys some entertainment and some segments. So if there are any segments that you'd like to see or that you have ideas for, let us know. We'll add it to our list and we'll see how we can come up with it as our wonderful producer co-host and talent of the show, as well as technical IT person, Bernice can tell you.
Woohoo! What
We
a role.
we we appreciate everyone out there. So
And we've also set up an Instagram page. It's got 0 posts on it right now, but it will have posts on it, don't you worry. So go follow us, beyondthegrid.hybrid. And yeah, as Anthony said, we're just excited to really build this show into something pretty special. We've got a lot of ideas. It's just pulling them all together. And please do send us any feedback, what you want to watch, what you want to hear. We want to get that from you. So thank you for watching and listening.
yep, and thanks for joining us on a Thursday. It will traditionally be on a Wednesday.
Good point. Yeah. Sydney
Or-
time, 8 a.m. in Australia. Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne time, and 3 p.m. for where you are, Anthony. Is that right?
Yep.
On a Wednesday.
And it's Thursday for you, right? Thursday morning in Australia.
Thursday morning for us. Yep. We'll put that on our Instagram page, a little pin post so everyone can know.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
guys. See you next week.